What's up, graphic designers? In today's lesson, we're going to talk about how to refine selections using the object selection tool. And you'll notice on the left side we've got this cutout. However, along the edge we sort of see traces of like that green background, and it's a little soft, it's not super clean. Compared with the right side, it's far more crisp, there's a lot more contrast. So we're going to talk about how to do that. And here we've got another example. And we're going to be creating these cutouts, saving them as PNGs. How exactly does this work? Well, we're gonna start with we'll start with Mr. Reyes. And so to create a PNG, we all know and remember that you're gonna create a selection. So I'm gonna do an awful job very quickly, just using the regular lasso. We remember that we press Command C to copy. We go to File, New. We're gonna simply press Create, Command V. We're gonna unlock the background. We're gonna delete it. And then we're going to save this as a PNG. Clearly, this selection is not amazing, right? So I'm going to cancel this out. I'm not even going to save it. I'm going to press Command D to deselect. And instead of the lasso tool, let's talk about the object selection tool. So previously, we've simply used this tool with the rectangular selection function. And so when I click and drag, and we'll see how effective it is, it works reasonably well, right? However, I noticed that it did not get the book at all, nor did it get his sleeve, and it got a little too much in the lower right hand corner. So what we can do is, instead of using the rectangle, we're going to select the lasso, and we're going to make sure that the Add to selection is highlighted. And so now I'm going to click and drag, and I'm extending, just a little bit beyond the edge of the book, and that's okay. And I'm actually gonna loop right around because we're adding to the selection, and I'm gonna release, and that looks really good. Now, it didn't get everything, did it? It got like the front cover along with these pages right here. However, it did not get the back, so I'm gonna do one more pass. And we remember there's other ways of doing this. We could just use the regular polygonal lasso, but there you go. That looks great. That looks wonderful. And speaking of the polygonal lasso, I'm actually going to switch. I'm going to pull up polygonal lasso. I'm going to make sure the subtract from selection is highlighted. And I'm just going to eliminate that additional selection. Now, what do I know? I know right here we could use the magnetic lasso, but I'm simply going to return to the object selection tool. I've got the mode selected as lasso. I'm just going to extend right along the outside. Let's see how this does. And there you go. That's pretty freaking amazing. Instead of adding, I'm going to subtract now. We don't need the floor. We don't need these wires. And I'm going to release. And that's so close. I'm just going to use the polygonal lasso subtract function. Okay. So now I'm clicking release. Wow. Well done. All right. So here is what I know. Ladies and gentlemen, if we press Command C and then go to File, New, and then Clipboard, I'm going to press Create, Command V. And if we zoom in a tad, let's see. His shirt looks not bad, right? The book, however, I could see a little of the green along the edges, little traces of the backdrop, and I don't love that. Nor do I love the elements of green along the perimeter of his face. So we're going to talk about how to refine the selection, how to like smooth this out a little bit. What can we do? Well, we're going to return to this selection right here. The object selection tool is highlighted, it's selected, and so I know a few things. If we look at the upper right hand corner, it says select and mask, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click that button right here. We're going to wait a moment, and now we've got so many things that just popped up. This is a little confusing, but to illustrate precisely how this works, I'm going to press Command plus, and I'm going to be looking along sort of like the left edge of his face. And we're going to do a few things. On the right side of the screen, we've got some global refinements. I'm going to show you a couple things. If we shift the edge, it's the one at the bottom, it's the fourth one down under global refinements. If we shift it so it's a negative 100, you'll notice that it's sort of sunk in quite a bit. And if we increase it to plus 100, it extends out, including some of the background, right? We don't want that green. And so this is at 0%. This is at 0%. Approximately 0% right there. There we go. And we're going to shift the edge, negative 16. We're going to keep it moving. Negative 24. That looks not bad right there. I'm going to maybe go to let's go to negative 40-ish. And that looks great right now. I'm going to increase the contrast 10%, 20%, and then I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. And so right now it's at 0, but if we increase it to 17, and then 53, and let's zoom out a little bit, that looks great right there. What if we even made it 65? All right, so it smooths out, and it's hard to tell on Mr. Ray's face, but you'll see how this looks on a few other examples. I'm simply going to press OK. So we boosted this smooth, we increased the contrast, and we dropped the shift edge to like negative 39%. I'm going to press OK, and you'll notice, like when we zoom in, that the selection now is on the inside of his face. You see that? It's sort of like on the interior a little bit, and that looks great right there. And what I'm going to do is, because we want to keep this part of his head, I'm actually going to use the polygon lasso, add to selection, and I'm just going to clicking, and I'm dragging, so it's, there we go. And we want to make sure that we got all the elements included. That looks great. I'm going to press Command C. I'm going to press Command V. And so now what do I know? Now I can see that if we create a new layer between 1 and 2 and use the rectangular marquee, I'm going to use the paint bucket. And what can we see? Right there, that looks like a far more professional selection. That looks much, much better. That looks great. Similarly, the front of the textbook, that's like a much cleaner selection. All right, so let's do this one more time, but there's another wrinkle involved, and that's this is Susie, and we've got her hair that's going to be a little bit more challenging to select, but there's a way around it. So let's do this super quickly. I'm going to use the object selection tool. I'm going to make sure that it's a new selection or add to selection. And like before, you know what we'll do? Actually, instead of the lasso, we'll change the mode to rectangle. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. I'm going to release. And I'm going to change the mode from rectangular to lasso. Yikes. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We want to make sure that the add to selection is highlighted. I'm clicking and I'm dragging. I'm clicking and I'm dragging. Okay. And we're almost there. I'm going to make sure that we get the edge of this book. So close. I'm going to release. There you go. I'm going to press Command C, File New, Command V, just so we can get a look at what we've got. So this is where we're at right now. Clearly this is not amazing, and I can see that again we've got the green along the edge of her portrait. So what we're going to do is we're going to return to this image. Object selection is pulled up in the toolbar. We're going to click Select and Mask, which will allow us to refine this selection. Just like before, Command plus to zoom in. I'm going to start with increasing the contrast just a little bit. We're going to smooth this out, so we're increasing the smooth, or increasing the contrast. We're going to drop shift edge to negative. Let's try, before we're at negative 40, negative 39%, let's try negative 65% just to see where we're at. And when we, that looks great, except for her hair, right? Would you look at that? At the very top of Photoshop, it says refine hair. Let's give that a shot. When we left click it, it's working its magic. And that's not amazing, but what we can do is we can do a few things. I'm going to shift the edge just a tad. Okay, and that looks decent right there. We're going to press Command C to copy, Command V, and now I can see that this is here we've got the before and after, right? That looks much, much better. And what about her hair? Let's take a look at that. It's not amazing, but with a little bit of practice, you're going to get the hang of it. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to return here. You'll notice that it's not tremendous, especially with the green background. There's other ways we can select hair. We're going to talk about that later. Right now, what's the final piece of the puzzle? Well, some of your teachers, yours truly included, may need a little bit of retouching. We know that we can pull up the spot healing brush tool. We're going to increase the diameter just so it's a little bit bigger than whatever we want to retouch. We're going to make sure that we're on the right layer. Boom, boom. Okay, that looks much better. We're going to increase the size. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, once you've retouched, once you've got that selection, we know that we're going to press Command C, File New, press Enter, Command V. We're going to unlock the background. We're going to drag the background to the garbage can, simply press Delete, and we're going to save this as a PNG. So it's going to be the first name of the teacher, so it's Susie, and then it's going to be your name, the graphic designer's name, Susie, Mr. Droz, and then we're going to label this as a cutout. This is not a Photoshop format file. Instead, we're going to scroll down, we're going to go to PNG, and you're going to save it. I'm going to save it to the desktop. You're going to save it to your downloads folder or wherever you save your work. I'm simply going to press save, and you, my friends, are good to go.